Well, now we're going to talk about construction. We've heard a lot from the economists this morning and Catherine's presentation on economic outlook for construction. And here's where the rubber hits the road. And you cannot pick up a newspaper in Toronto and indeed many sections or many parts of the province and not read about transit infrastructure and transit projects. In Ottawa, there's the light rail project that's underway. In Waterloo Region, they just approved the Project Cove for their $818 million light rail transit project to begin construction later this year. Hamilton's talking about light rail. So there's lots of discussion. And of course, in Toronto, there's lots of discussion as well about upcoming projects that are underway, and the potential for more projects. And here to tell us some more about that and also the link between transit infrastructure and commercial development, how it relates to construction opportunities, not only in building that transit infrastructure, but the commercial development that goes along with that transit infrastructure as well. We're pleased to have with us here today Jack Collins, who's Executive Vice President, Rapid Transit Implementation for Metrolinx. Jack is devoted exclusively to the implementation of the $8.7 billion light rail transit program in Toronto and York Region's $1.4 billion Viva Next bus rapid way program and additional major infrastructure projects that the province may, and we hope, assign to Metrolinx. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Jack Collins.
Thank you, Sean, and I'd like to thank the Secretariat for inviting us to talk about a topic that's near and dear to most of our hearts, and I'm going to change it up. I like macroeconomics too when I was in college, but I think I'm going to change it up and talk a little bit about construction, and maybe there's a nexus between development that we can share with you as well. So, in case you haven't heard of Metrolinx, and I was encouraged by the survey where a lot of the contractors have heard of Metrolinx and see it as a growth opportunity in 2014 and beyond. We were created by the provincial government in 2006 with a mandate to long-term sustainable transportation and better transit across the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. Our region is over 8,000 square kilometers. It's a home to approximately 6 million people and growing fast. It has 4 levels of government, 30 municipalities, and 10 transit agencies. So that's a lot to try to coordinate and get on the same page as far as our transit future. We have 3 operating divisions. Go Transit's been around for over 45 years, providing commuter rail service and bus rail service in the region. Union Pearson Express is a new service that hopes to open next year. And that'll provide an express link, a rail link between Union Station and the Pearson Airport. Presto is a regional fare card. It's up and running on 9 out of 10 of the local transit agencies. We'll have full deployment, and we're just beginning with the TTC in 2014 and full deployment around 2016. And the TTC is actually the last big piece for that fare card. And also, if you're in Ottawa, you can use your Presto card in Ottawa now. So it's a little bit beyond our region. We are all aware of congestion. I left Toronto back in '81. I don't think the Gardner coming into Toronto was that bad back then as it is now. One of the reasons I left is there really wasn't much to build in the way of transit in Toronto. I spent some 24 years down in California building light rail and highway projects. They ran out of money in California a few years ago, and the province decided to invest. And so we are looking at building a number of transit projects that I'll talk about later. The average person in Toronto right now is spending 82 minutes commuting into the downtown area. It's one of the longest commutes in North America. Congestion costs our economy about $6 billion a year, and that's really just the lost productivity and wasted time sitting behind a wheel listening to news radio or whatever you do when you're driving in. And of course, while you're sitting there not moving very quickly, you're burning fossil fuels, which contribute about 500,000 tons of greenhouse gases to our atmosphere every year. So Metrolinx put together what's called the Big Move. It identified over 60 transit projects for the short-term, medium, and long-term that we wanted to invest in. It's a blueprint for a more sustainable transportation future in this region. And that plan, after a comprehensive debate and review in 2008, was adopted by the Metrolinx and the provincial government. And it sets out a vision to make our transportation system more seamless, coordinated, and efficient. The long-term vision of the Big Move is to build a fully integrated transit network across the Greater Toronto-Hamilton area. The good news is we've started. So here are some of the $16 billion of currently funded projects where shovels are in the ground, and it will become a reality in not too distant future. I'll talk a little bit about each of these projects. Carl mentioned the Union Station and a lot of the development. In this picture, that green area in front of the Royal York, which is a glass train shed roof, is being constructed right now and will provide kind of a glass atrium over the platforms where you board GO Transit at Union Station. We're working with the City of Toronto and the TTC to revamp the station. We're tripling the size of the GO Transit concourses and installing the glass atrium that I just mentioned. We're making the Union Station subway station more comfortable experience for our customers, and we're transforming the environment our customers have when they're waiting for trains at track level. Construction's well underway, and the last of the steel columns, which supports the glass atrium, was erected early this year, and it's quickly getting finished, and now we'll replace the old train shed roof with more of a green roof. Project expected to be substantially complete by 2015 and fully complete by 2016. Just a sneak peek, by the end of this year, we're hoping to open up the York Street GO Concourse level. This is a view of the concourse level for boarding trains up above, on a shout out to the terrazzo and tile group here. The floor is going to be terrazzo, so it'll be a nice finish to the floor. A sneak preview of the lower level. So one of the things the City of Toronto is doing is creating kind of a two-tier level where you have boarding on the concourse level, and down below you have a retail plaza area. Again, this is all to open in at the end of 2014, so our customers and patrons will not only have a better environment for boarding trains on the west side of Union Station, but also have some commercial retail opportunities on the lower level. And this will be replicated over on the Bay Street side or the east side of Union Station once this one gets opened. The Up Express is moving very quickly. It'll provide a fast, reliable 25-minute service departing every 15 minutes from Union Station. It's going to link Canada's two busiest transportation hubs, Union Station and the Toronto Pearson International Airport. A key element of Union Pearson Express infrastructure is the construction of a 3-kilometer spur that connects from the GO line to the Toronto Pearson Airport Terminal 1. You can see on this the elevated structure. That's been finished. Track work is now going down on that elevated structure, and most of that work, which was done through a design, build, finance contract model, will be complete by July 2014. We'll actually start running trains in the latter part of, or early part of next year, and the entire service is to open before the Pan Am Games in 2015. Government of Ontario is also moving forward on its commitment to deliver the largest rapid transit capital expansion in the history of Toronto. Some of the projects I'm involved in, the Toronto Transit projects, include the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, the Finch West LRT, and the Shepherd East LRT. They were identified as priority projects in the Big Move, and we're continuing to make progress on implementing these lines. Perhaps the largest single project in Toronto and Canada's history is a $5.3 billion Eglinton Crosstown project. It's a 19-kilometer project, includes 10 kilometers of underground tunnels, which you just saw a little bit of a video on. It'll link 54 bus routes, 3 subway stations, and various GO lines at Mount Dennis, at Caledonia, and at Kennedy. And some of those are the transit hubs that Carl was talking about, where people like to hang out. It'll also increase transit capacity. There'll be about 500 people per 3-car light rail train, which it's being designed for. That compares to 48 people that would be on a bus running in mixed traffic on Eglinton Ave, which anyone that's been on Eglinton Ave, it doesn't move very quickly. So you'll have a much faster trip, about 60% faster in the underground section of the Eglinton. The balance of the 19 kilometers, 9 kilometers, is going to be at surface, running in a dedicated trackway down the middle of Eglinton Ave. We've just finished a request for qualifications and have qualified 2 large consortium who are going to be spending most of 2014 planning and preparing their teams for proposals to do a design, build, finance, maintain type contract model through Infrastructure Ontario. And as Sean mentioned earlier, we have included some new features in the contract RFP that involve the encouragement of apprentice programs. What are the proponents going to do in terms of apprentice programs? Also encouraging the proponents to look at ways of utilizing some of the resources and businesses along Eglinton Ave, working with the Toronto Community Benefits Network and trying to pull all that together so contractors can not only help train people. This is a long-term project that goes till 2020. So to Sean's point earlier, it is a sustainable job. These jobs are going to last for a while. And then when the job is actually finished, there's quite a bit of actual maintenance work, since the design, build, finance, maintain project includes a 30-year concession period to maintain the asset that gets built. And that includes the maintenance of vehicles and a maintenance facility located at the Mount Dennis area on the old Kodak Lands. Shepherd East project and Finch West light rail projects, they're just a bit behind the Eglinton Crosstown. We've selected a design firm to put together the RFQ and RFP documents, working with Infrastructure Ontario. These projects will be heading through the provincial government for approval to release RFQ. Finch West will go first, hopefully have a financial close with a consortium to build about $1 billion project by in 2016 and up into revenue service by 2020. Also on the Shepherd East, we're looking to get that one in place by 2017. Construction through that period, and then operating by 2021, which will be the last of the first lift of the major light rail projects here in the Toronto area. Each of those projects an investment of about $1 billion in 2009 dollars, so you'd escalate that up now. GO Transit is also expanding its corridors because it's running more service. There's a huge demand for more service. Every time GO Transit puts new service out, it seems to get consumed. The great Georgetown South project is actually adding additional tracks, and some of the tracks it's adding will be dedicated for the Up Express service that will go to the airport, but also is widening and modifying 15 bridge structures, building 7 new overpasses and underpasses to separate vehicle and train traffic, and grade separating at Strawn Avenue overpass and a number of other areas. About a $1.2 billion project that's currently underway. Some of the other projects, Viva Next, this is up on in York region, and we're working with the municipality of York to build $1.7 billion worth of bus rapid transit. And unlike the bus rapid transit that they have now, where it runs side runs, these are actually dedicated lanes, so the buses travel a lot faster. There's signal sync, so the buses move through intersections, signalized intersections at a much faster pace, and they're dedicated assets at the stations. So this is actually an interesting project. The asset is owned by Metrolinx, but it's operated by the Viva Next department, and we actually have 3 kilometers up and running between Bayview and 404. So if you want to see what bus rapid transit, modern bus rapid transit looks like, it's a great example on Highway 7. And also in the future, we'll have a total of 34 kilometers of this on Yonge Street and on Highway 7. And this connects to the Spadina subway extension up to York Region. Mississauga BRT, just quickly, another BRT investment. These both are being designed and built to accommodate a future light rail system, but initially we're looking at a bus rapid transit in this area. This project's to be complete by 2016, an investment of about $260 million. So that's what's moving. We have plans for more, and there's quite a bit of work to be done in determining what big move projects are priority projects. We're looking at an extensive qualitative and quantitative analysis to actually build what we call the next wave of projects. So subway, bus rapid transit, light rail, over 500 kilometers of new projects, about $34 billion of new money needed over and above the $16 billion that's already been invested by the province. Expanding GO service on all 7 lines, including 2-way all-day service, which we already are running 2-day all-day service on Lakeshore East and West, so every 30 minutes you can hop a train 7 days a week. We want to expand that to other corridors, and also electrification on 3 lines. 25% of the funding that we've identified in an investment strategy that Metrolinx has put together would go to local transit improvements, roads and highways, and active transportation. The goal of the plan is to actually move people closer to where they live and work. So transit hubs where you actually have mixed use of office and housing are kind of ideal. So what Carl was talking about is really something that the plan is looking at. If I use my daughter as a barometer, she lives downtown, she doesn't have a car, she doesn't want to have a car, so it's not war in the car. These new younger generation just want to live close to work, and transit is part of where they'll position themselves in the Toronto area, so it's convenient to get to work. Economic opportunities, certainly there's some large investments that are noted on this slide that have been very successful, where the private sector has stepped up, but one of the incentives are they have to be near a transit hub. So you have some of the Canary Wharf investment in London, where the private sector's kicked in a major portion, and the zoning, of course, was compatible with having a new transit investment right under the wharf. Hudson Yards in New York is another investment around a transit hub, and in Vancouver, the Capstan Station is another example of the types of investment that's occurring around transit hubs. So in our study of investing in our region, investing in our future that Metrolinx looked at, one of the key things is transit-oriented development and sustainable growth. Getting people closer to their jobs, getting them closer to transportation. The ultimate goal is you'd only have 2 kilometers to go to the nearest transit service that would get you to where you work and live. Lots of economic opportunities. I think transit's key to unlocking these. Certainly Carl's presentation was very encouraging in that area in terms of unlocking potential investors into transit-oriented development. What I thought I'd do is just walk you through an opportunity and just take you very quickly through these slides and then close. Mount Dennis is a transit hub. It's bound by the Eglinton corridor that's under construction right now. It's bound by Weston Road and the Black Creek Triangle and the Black Creek business area. It also has GO Transit running up and down this corridor. The Up Express will run up and down this corridor. And Metrolinx has invested in buying the Kodak Lands. There's 56 acres of land that we purchased about 3 years ago. And unfortunately, Kodak's not there anymore. The only thing that you'll see on these lands right now is what's called Building 9, which used to be their recreational and training center. Building 9 is sitting right there in the orange square. What we want to do with that building is repurpose that building. So we've had a number of meetings with the community out there, and we're looking at visioning this area. But what you can see here is a future GO station in the green, entrances to the light rail station that's located right up against and behind the retaining wall that you see along this area. A new bus terminal, the TCC will feed its bus routes into this so people can transfer onto the higher order light rail system, which is, again, runs in subway all the way over to Laird and Don Valley. And you can see here the maintenance facility that will house over 100 light rail vehicles being manufactured up in Thunder Bay. It's kind of an all-Ontario vehicle. The storage for those facilities. The transit center, the bus terminal that will house 15 bays and intersect a bunch of bus routes that are running along Eglinton right now and feed into the light rail system. You can see here a new GO station that we'll be building as part of the rollout for 2020. And it's linked to Weston Avenue and also to the light rail station. So it's all coordinated here. A passenger pickup and drop-off section over here. And the repurposed Kodak building, which would be the heart of the station. It's kind of sad what's happened to that building. If you go up to the roof and look across, you get a beautiful view of downtown Toronto along that corridor. They used to call this area Kodak Heights. So we're looking at buttoning up that building and coming up with some new uses for that building. It's really the center of this whole transit hub. So this is what day one will look like in the late 2020 when this opens. This is the initial investment, but what about looking at integrating that transit station and using land that Metrolinx owns and trying to put on there a potential commercial development? That's certainly something that Weston is interested in. They used to have a very thriving economy there with Kodak creating a lot of jobs. This is where your Kodachrome used to get developed. They're really hurting along that area, along Weston. They want jobs. They're looking for buildings, institutional type investment. So we've put in our RFP, we're asking the teams to hook up with some developers and come up with some ideas of how can you integrate something like this with private money, investing in a transit center and some commercial development at that transit center. Right across from us is what's called the Black Creek Drive Triangle. The triangle, we've heard from the community that like to see mixed use. There's, I think, a grocery store in there right now. But look at the opportunity. This is so close to transit. It's so quick to get downtown from here. It's quick to get out to the airport in the future. So we see this as a prime area for some kind of mixed-use development between jobs and housing here as well. So pulling this all together, a long-term vision, this whole area gets redeveloped with jobs that are industrially related, commercial, new commercial, housing. It's a great opportunity that hopefully we can realize that type of vision around this station. So just closing, the benefits of this investment that we're making is a higher quality of life, a sustainable environment, and a competitive economy. And hopefully we're able to attract a lot of that development potential and realize all of these goals in the Eglinton Crosstown and the other projects that Metrolinx is undertaking. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Jack. Quite clearly you're busy. You got lots of projects underway, and I think I mentioned earlier that the portfolio was worth about $8.7 billion, but can you maybe clarify that in terms of how much work you have underway and how much has been approved in terms of its overall value?
So the overall value, there's $16 billion moving forward right now. The Toronto Transit project's about $8.7 billion. The The bus rapid transit up in York is $1.7 billion. Then all the investments at Union Station, Up Express. Also included in that is a third of the capital funding for the Spadina subway extension up to York region. So you put all that together and it's about $16 billion.
Okay, that's very impressive. Is there any other transit authority in North America that's as busy as Metrolinx is?
Oh, probably New York, but anyways,
yeah, they're different scale.
It's we're getting there. I mean, this is very large. It's very exciting. Yeah.
Great, very exciting for sure. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, well, thank you very much, Jack, and I know we're running a little bit late, and we're just about to wrap up, and I'd like to ask Catherine Jacobs to actually thank you, Jack.
I think I can speak for everyone here that it's really exciting to see all of these opportunities, and there's been a lot of talk about transit, especially in Toronto, for many years now, and it's very exciting to see some of these projects starting to go forward and to transform our city, and as well your commitment to want to use apprentices on those projects. A lot of our stakeholders in the room will be working on these projects, and I know they're very excited about that opportunity. So thank you very much for taking the time to come to speak with us today. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much, Jack and Catherine. And just a couple closing notes, just in terms of housekeeping. OCS board and special guests were at the York room, which is on the lobby level. A lot of planning goes into this event, and I'd really like to thank our OCS team. And if you could stand and be recognized, that would be much appreciated. Catherine Jacobs, Jim Wright, Stu Stevenson, Rishi Sande, Ryan Isojima, Perry Chow, and Gianluca Cipriani. Please, a round of applause for the OCS team. Thanks very much. You've done an excellent job today. Really appreciate that. And at the conclusion, Janice, maybe I could ask if we can take a picture with the ironworker apprentices, if that's all right, Clint. And I'd asked our OCS board members to join us as well. So finally, thank you very much for your attendance today. A lot of information, but as you can see overall, the construction opportunities going forward related to Metrolinx, related to the commercial marketplace, related to general economic conditions in general are quite positive. And even according to our own construction outlook survey, contractors are more positive about the opportunities in 2014 than they are in 2013. Our barometer's at 64. So as soon as this deep freeze vortex ends, we can all get to work, I guess. So thank you very much for coming. Mark your calendars for next year. This event will be March 4th, 2015. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.